So now today I'm back again with taxes. Um, I don't think the resource does the best job explaining taxes. I'm not necessarily saying I'm going to do any better, but I'm going to try. Okay, so let's look at our market for gases here. You see two curves here, but actually that's only going to be, it's just two examples of the same market that I need to use here. So let's go ahead and set our price equilibrium at $2.50 and our equilibrium quantity at 100 like we have been for gasoline. Okay, so let's say that in this market there is going to be a 10-cent tax on consumers. Okay. So what's going to happen then is that because of this, we need to show that the demand is going to change here because there's a 10-cent tax on every given point on the line, right? So usually when we change price, right, we're changing on the curve, but because that price has changed for every point on the curve, right, even if gas was at $1, right, it's still $1.10 for consumers, right? So because of that, we need to shift the curve down by 10 cents, right? So what we need to represent then is that the curve will have the quantity demanded, right, will be the same at $2.40. Okay, so we need to find the point where $2.40 over here, right, is the same. So we're going to create a new demand curve. Hopefully it's parallel-ish. Yeah, it's pretty good, right? So we have a new demand curve, right, that's 10 cents lower at every level, right? Again, because this 10-cent tax occurs at every given point, right? So we'll call this demand with tax. Okay, so we've shifted our new equilibrium point to not $2.40. So $2.40 is down here, but our new equilibrium point is not $2.40. Okay, so what we're going to see here is that we are going to see a new equilibrium point, right, at a point in between $2.50 and $2.40. Let's call it $2.45 for right now. Okay. So we have a new equilibrium, okay, and this changes a few things, right? So the first thing is that the government's, or sorry, let's start there. The government is taxing this consumption, right? This market, and so what happens is that since our equilibrium is at $2.45, right, the actual price is going to be $2.55, right? That is going to be the new actual equilibrium price. And so what's happening here is producers are getting that $2.45, right? And the consumers are buying it at $2.55. Okay, so that's the first part of this. The second part of this, so we have this tax demand curve, but in reality, this doesn't necessarily exist, right? We're still on this old demand curve in a sense, right? But what's happening is this new demand tax curve is here to show us the impact of the tax, right? And so what's happening is that this chunk right here, this 10-cent chunk, is now going to the government, right? This is government revenue, right, for the tax. Okay. So we have seen consumer surplus shrink pretty significantly, right, from this original white line to this new blue line, and we've also seen producer surplus shrink pretty significantly, right? The other thing we're seeing is, again, deadweight loss, right? Some people who are willing to consume at $2.50 can no longer afford to do so at $2.55, right? Likewise, there are producers who could produce at $2.50 but cannot produce when they're only making $2.45. Okay, so that is the issue that's happening here. Okay, so let's talk about the effects here, right? So we see a decrease in total surplus. We see not only a decrease in total surplus, but also both for consumers and producers, right? So nobody's getting out of this better, right? We do see an increase in government revenue. Okay. And then the reason we see the decrease in total surplus, not only because of the government revenue, but we also see an increase in what we call deadweight loss, right? Which are interactions that could occur, but are not occurring here, right? So that is what happens when you put it on the consumers, right? When you put the tax on the consumption of the good, right? When they buy it themselves, right? Now let's look at what happens when the tax is now on producers. Okay, so we are going to see the entire supply curve shift by 10 cents based on this fact that at every given point, right, no matter what they're making, right, and again, let me do this in white. Let's create an equilibrium point, again, $2.50 and 100 units being consumed. I did not do this over here. Let's say that the amount being consumed now is down to 95. I think is probably a good level to pick there. All right. So what happens here is that at every given level, right, the amount that producers are making is now 10 cents less. Okay, so where does the supply curve go? Well, it goes to the left or up. Up is bad. To the left. Don't say up because it makes no sense. To the left by 10 cents. So what we need to find is the same place here, right, where it is $2.60, right? Because of that tax, right, they're actually still making $2.50 when the price is $2.60, right? And so that is where we are going to create our supply curve, our new supply curve, our tax supply curve. Okay, so we have our new equilibrium price right here. Okay, which looks like to be $2.55, right? But suppliers are not getting that $2.55. They're only getting $2.45, right? And so the same ideas apply here, right? We're seeing less quantity being bought and sold because of the higher price. We are seeing the creation of the government revenue. We are seeing the creation of the deadweight loss right here. Okay, we are seeing a decrease in consumer surplus, and we're seeing a decrease in producer surplus. So all of this is the same over here, right, as it is in the consumer tax. Okay, so why am I bringing this up? Well, the reason I'm bringing this up is because let me do a thing here. The reason I'm bringing this up is because there is something that can impact what's called the tax burden. Okay. So the question is, who bears the burden of a tax? And the answer to that depends on the elasticity of the product, right? So what I want to do here real quick, I'm going to erase some of this and then use this as kind of an example. Okay, so and also another way that the book brought up that, so since we've actually done all this, now an easier way to kind of determine where the tax level is to, or the new equilibrium point is to find on the curve where they are 10 cents apart, right? So basically just find a 10-cent gap, right? And then that is where the new price will be, right? You can do that if you want. Either works, right? It's a little bit easier, okay, since it's a 10-cent tax. So let's create let's create an example here. Let's get a new curve out here. Let's say that we have a relatively inelastic supply. Excuse me, relatively inelastic demand. Okay, so let's look at how this is going to impact this market. Okay, let me do some more erasing here real quick. Let me get rid of all this, get rid of all that. Okay, so let's see, how do we want to do this? All right, so it's a 10-cent tax on producers still, right? And so we're going to continue to see, we're going to see that same shift occur, right, that we had previously, right? So we're going to go up 10 cents, right, to $2.45. This is $2.60. Okay. sorry, let's blow this out a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Let's call this $2.60 right here. So what happens now is that we're at a new equilibrium point right here. Actually, you know what? We're gonna cut all this. I'm gonna cut all this. We're gonna restart this. We're gonna redo all this right here real quick because this does not work very well with two demand curves. All right. Okay. So again, we shifted out to a point where $2.60 is still making them 100 units, right? Again, because of the 10-cent tax. So we have our new equilibrium point right here. Okay. And so what we see is that the price that the good is being sold at is very close to the $2.60, the full amount of the tax, right? Let's call this $2.58, right? And so what's happening then is that suppliers are still making quite a lot of money, right? They're pretty close to their $2.50, $2.48, right? And so what's happening here is that consumer surplus is shrinking much more than producer surplus is, right? So the burden of this tax is going more onto the consumers, right? If it went more onto the producers, right, you'd see something closer to $2.50, right? You'd see maybe $2.52, which means that suppliers are only getting $2.42, right? So the rule here is if you're inelastic, right, the more inelastic the curve, the more tax burden you have, right? Because you cannot get away from the market. And so what that allows to do, the producers to do, or the other side to do, is to, either buy or sell more or less than you, right? If you're in a more elastic curve, you have less tax burden. Okay. Which you can see here, right? The supply curve is more elastic, and so they're only going to be at $2.48, right? So they're only making 2 cents less per unit, whereas consumers have to spend 8 cents more per unit, right? Which is going to hurt consumers more than it is going to hurt producers. Okay. So that about does it for taxes. Right, the key things here: deadweight loss and the decrease in total surplus, and then how elasticity impacts it. If you're the more inelastic of the two curves, you're going to share more tax burden. When I say the two curves, supply and demand, right? If supply is more inelastic, they're going to have more of the tax burden. If supply is more elastic, they're going to have less of the tax burden. Okay, and so that's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.